and the influences it has on the way that you implement your philosophy, it's quite subliminal. I don't really have kind of like, I'm not really that kind of like drill sergeant, but I do have kind of like different kind of like morals and mantras that I kind of like adhere to that I've taken from the military. So it's always, the right amount of reps, kind of like there's no such thing as a half rep, turning up for work kind of like early. And so I think kind of like what the military gives me is the discipline factor, not the drill sergeant factor.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I believe comes across, but without being too militant. I have many favorite clients that I've kind of like worked with. Well, number one, obviously, Daniel Craig, because I've spent the most time with him. It's been a labor of love for the last kind of like 16 years. But then I have like a lot of like clients who are maybe quirky and interesting, and I haven't spent that much time with, but I've had really good, funny and good relationships with. Benicio del Toro was quite an interesting client for me when I kind of like did Star Wars. I really kind of like enjoyed kind of like working with him and his 20 minute kind of like workout philosophy. And then I would turn up in the morning and he would say, "Yeah, let's just do a short one today." I'm like, "Oh, like a 10-minute workout now." So yes, so I've had lots of like quirky kind of like clients, but I think because of the time that I've spent with kind of like Daniel, and our relationship has like been cultivated into a friendship and not that kind of like client trainer kind of like relationship. So I think kind of like obviously Daniel is he's a great friend and probably my favorite and easiest now person to kind of like to work with. Unique memories working on film sets. I think what I found really interesting is, again, but going back to the question that you asked before, that military kind of what does the military bring to me? It gave me the capability of being able to improvise, adapt, and overcome. So you're always, when you're on a film set, you've always having to think about what you're going to do at the end of the day. So whether that's the recovery side of things, whether that's the training. And I remember we were filming in Chile on Bond at the International Observatory, and it was at very, very high altitude, and we worked out kind of like up there and spent like a few days up there working out at altitude, and those opportunities they just don't come about. So the film business gives you access into scenarios that you're never going to find yourself in. So one day you're in Chile, the next day you're in Panama, 3 weeks later you're in Austria. So you're always having to adapt. So, and that's what kind of like allows you to kind of like, I think, flourish as well as a trainer, because you're always having to test yourself and you're always having to improvise, adapt and overcome in different gyms with different pieces of kit, and utilizing your environment. As far as kind of like using different bits of kit for my fitness needs, I have, because of different films require different scenarios and different sequences, I have many things made to be able to kind of like mimic what I'm going to ask that person to do. So I will set up a particular scene. So it could be a balustrade, it could be some stairs. You might have to kind of like, it might be a balance beam. I've designed things where, a particular actor might have been injured, so they have to do particular stairs in a particular sequence. So I have a lot of things kind of like, a lot of things made, so that when it comes to the day of the races, when we're going to film that particular scene, I've conditioned it already in the gym, and it's already kind of like firmly implanted in their head, and their body can just do it kind of like quite naturally without thinking about it. So not kit that's kind of already ready available, but stuff that I've had made. So that's always kind of like an interesting thing. So all these purpose bits of metal that are kind of like have balustrades at different heights and balance beams to mimic kind of like being on the top of a hotel and then jumping down, and then so funny things I've had made. Anyone embarking on a new fitness regime, I like to always kind of like tell people to never make anything too unobtainable. Always set your goals like quite kind of like low, so that you always can achieve them. And then you feel that sense of self-achievement, which then in turn will give you motivation, which will then allow you to kind of like go to the next step and take it to the next level. I think the worst thing you can do is set the bar too high. Because if you set the bar too high, you never feel that sense of achievement. You're always chasing a goal, and you don't feel the euphoria of reaching a goal. So if you're just trying to do some body weight press-ups, don't kind of like set the goal at 100. Set the goal at kind of like being able to do 8 or 9 or 10. Reach it and then move on. So it's about taking them incremental steps, very, very kind of like gently, and not kind of like being unkind to yourself, both mentally as well as kind of like physically. Because also as well, you don't want to do too much, because the pain and muscle soreness and the fatigue and all that, plays a big part in it. So fitness is meant to re-energize you. If you feel like all you want to do is lie down on the sofa when you finish, then you've actually done too much. So use yourself as a barometer. Use your feelings as a barometer of how you're feeling, and take those kind of like tiny baby steps along the way. And that way, it's a lot easier to kind of like reach your goals.
And how important?
Mental health side of things from fitness is it's something that you've always got to be really kind of like aware of, because it's really tough, because we're all focused on the aesthetic metrics. So we're always like looking at weight, or how much I'm lifting, or how big this is, or how far I can kind of like run. And it's very hard to have a mental health metric. You've almost got to do like a self-check-in, and you've got to kind of like, how am I feeling? Is this making me feel good? Am I kind of like reaching my goals? And so it's important to do that mental health kind of like check-in, because there is no real barometer or real metric. We can't measure it. And a lot of this as well, especially in the fitness world, is very aesthetic based. Where all our goals are not kind of like based on feelings. They're based on aesthetic. But if you can base a lot of your kind of like fitness on feelings, then the aesthetic is a byproduct of kind of like great feeling, but also as well great performance. That's the tough thing. I always think you've got a 6 week kind of like motivational window, and for 6 weeks you'll see gains, and you'll see changes. But then you get to a 6 weeks, and we all kind of like reach that kind of natural kind of like plateau, and that's when it's that's when it's time to kind of like change things up a little bit. Change your program, change your goals, give yourself a couple of weeks off, and then do another 6 weeks. And I think that's how you keep yourself kind of like engaged. Read different fitness theories, read different fitness philosophies. Get yourself a really good kind of like gym buddy. That's a real kind of like key thing, because you can motivate each other, and especially like throughout the kind of year, when one person doesn't want to do something, the next person's going to motivate you to kind of like do it, and so and so on and so forth. So it's just realigning things and realigning the goals, but then having that nucleus, the main goal at the end of it. So it's a journey. It's a journey on how you kind of like get there. So just use different tools to kind of like keep yourself motivated and get yourself to kind of like the goal that you want to kind of the goal you want to achieve. My least favorite workout. I'm not a great runner, because I think within the military I did too much running. So it's not a passion of mine, because I think I did kind of like too much, over a long period of time, and in boots with blisters. So I've got really bad memories of kind of like of running, with a kind of like a backpack or a Bergen kind of like on, I didn't find that a fun time at all. So it's really hard for me now to kind of like go running and actually think it's an enjoyable thing for me to kind of like do. I will do it. I mean, I'll kind of go out with my clients, and we do different stuff, but I try and make it interesting on the way. So I'm not a purist runner where I go out there to kind of like run mile after mile after mile. I will kind of like stick to kind of like going, right, I'm going to set myself a 5K, but on the way, after 1K, I'm going to do these exercises. After another K, I'm going to do these exercises to keep it interesting for me, but I'm still kind of like getting a little bit of kind of like running in. So I can cope with it that way. Bacon sandwiches are not the ultimate no-no. With me, like, nothing's off the table. There's nothing better than having an amazing week of fitness and nutrition Sunday morning with like crusty bread and kind of like crispy bacon and HP sauce. Kind of like, I learned from the master himself, like Dan, kind of like he's a bacon sandwich guy. So yeah, I think you should never take it off the table.